Hey everybody, this is Jeff from the Great Heights and Barely Controlled Chaos. And I got a couple of small projects I'm working on this afternoon. But while I was working on this project, or while I was thinking about working on this project, I thought I'd share with you some lessons that I've learned along the way. And so I'll call this the 5 lessons of homesteading. So let's get started. Alright, so we're out here near our pig paddock here, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to run. I've only got a single strand of electric fence running the whole length of this thing, and there's some spots where it's kind of high, and since we're going to start letting the little piglets out here with the mama, hopefully they'll stick together, but I don't trust that, and I'm not going to rely on that. So that actually brings me to lesson number 1, which is that there's always more to do. Doesn't matter what you're doing, doesn't matter what you're talking about, there's always improvements, there's always more that you can do, there's always things that you can do to make things better. So what we're going to do today, obviously, is just trying to, in some of the spots that are a little high, I'm going to run just a second strand underneath and or over or something, just try to figure out a way to do that. So that's lesson number 1. There's always more. You can always do something else. There's never a lack of work to do on a homestead. It's just reality. There's just always more to do. So just accept that and you'll be good. Also, I have my helper out here today, so he's going to help me out. So you'll see him in some of the later clips. So you might be asking yourself, what do I mean by that? There's something always more to do. It is the nature of the beast. We are not large corporate farmers. We are not, we don't have the huge backing. We don't have lots of help. For the most part, most of us are doing this on our own. I mean, unless you're lucky enough to have a large family nearby or family in general nearby. I'm lucky enough I've got lots of kids, but it still falls on us as a family to do this pretty much on our own. And that's not a negative. That's not a negative. Yeah, it's not a negative. It's just simply saying that it falls on us to do it. So there's always more to do. And again, we don't have a perfect system. There's always things that get broken. There's always things that need to be fixed. There's always things that just need to happen. I mean, even if it's just right down to chores, they always need to happen. And like changing the configuration of this fence, it needs to happen so we can move on. So that's what I mean. And that's going to lead into number 2, which I'm going to get to in just a second. And now that I have my cutest helper with me, and his older brother, he doesn't want to be on the camera right now, but now that I have my cutest helper with me, we'll talk about number 2. And I call that keeping up with Farmer Jones. Alright, so what do I mean by keeping up with Farmer Jones? So there's a couple of things. What do I mean? Yes. There's a couple of things I want to point out about this. For a lot of us, the reason why we started doing this is because we wanted to get out of that corporate rat race that we've all been in most of our lives. Some of us, at least. That may not be everybody's reason. That was certainly one of my reasons. I still do a 9-to-5 job, but I don't rely on it as much for food and so forth. And I believe that eventually I will be more self-reliant and be able to get out of some of that. But there seems to be, I mean, some of us are competitive by nature. I know I am. If somebody wants to go running, I'm always trying to run faster. It's just who I am. You know, it's one of those things. So there's that competitive side of us, and we see other people, and we see other homesteaders or whoever else, and we feel like we've got to keep up with them. You see people who have been doing homesteading for 10 or 15 or 20 years, and we try to keep up with them. And there's no need to do that. And on top of that, there's the corporate farmers that have the tons of equipment and things like that that we'll never have. We just won't be able to afford it. There's no reason why you have to keep up with those people. You don't have to keep up with the guy next door. I mean, our neighbor next door, who's been doing this a lot longer than I have. He's got more equipment, he's got more animals, he's got more things, and he's got more resources than I do, and that's cool. And I'm glad to be able to draw on his resources, meaning being able to talk to him mostly about things, but I don't feel like I've got to compete with him on this. This isn't something I'm going to try to compete with him on, and nor anybody else. I look at other people's success and try to maybe emulate their success, but celebrate their success and say, hey, look, I can learn things from them. We're not all at the same level, and you don't have to keep up with Farmer Jones. So that's just the reality of this situation, and hopefully you can take something away from that. And we'll take just a little break to admire some nature. I'm really zoomed in, so that's not quite as big as it is. Let's back up a little bit.
It is so terrifyingly huge.
It is still.
It ate two man's heads.
It is pretty big.
It's pretty
this
big.
This is my tool. My tool next to it.
Get away from me.
So yeah.
Tick on
Anyway.
Bad tick.
Yeah, a little bit of nature. Right. So along with keeping up with the Joneses is the idea that if you did try to do that, this is expensive. Or this can be expensive. Let's put it that way. Homesteading by itself doesn't necessarily have to be expensive, but it can be. You could go for you could buy a piece of property, and you could sink thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into setting up and getting things ready, and you'd be in debt for forever. And I'm going to advocate something that I know some people are going to disagree with, but living within your means. I mean, part of why we did this, again, to get outside of the rat race. And if you're digging yourself a hole when you first get started, checking to see if I got a tick on my arm, but if you're digging yourself a hole when you first get started, you could be stuck in that rat race for a very, very, very long time, just trying to pay off what you did. There's a really good video, and because I'm not a financial person, really am not. My wife is our financial wizard. But there's a really good video by from the gentleman who runs Just a Few Acres Farm, and I'll link to that down in the comments, and I'll actually put a link up above, where he talks about this specifically. Trying to live within your means, trying to budget, try to set up your infrastructure only as much as you need, or just a little beyond what you need, so that you're not killing yourself, and only buy what you need to have while you're doing this. We're setting up this paddock. This is a pain in the butt to get electric fence off that spool, because it came from us from our last house, and we did a bad job winding it up, and it's always a pain. I could go buy more, but we've got a ton of it. So reuse it, recycle, do things with what you've got. Finding these poles, a lot of these poles are just found in random places around the property, and I've dug them up and put them in different places and reuse stuff. I'm not the best at this, but I understand living within your means, and that honestly is why we do this. We're doing this so that we can live within our means. We're trying to live off of what we can produce, and if we're trying to live outside of that, if we are so deep in debt that we can't afford to live without outside help, then what's the point of doing this? So that's lesson number 3, and that is trying to live within your means, trying to understand what you need and what you have to do, and going from there. Part of living within your means and not keeping up with the Joneses and actually the first 3 So part of that is just accepting that you can only do what you can do. As I said, a lot of us are doing this pretty much on our own with our, just with our immediate family, or maybe your extended family, or a small co-op. But accepting that there's always more that can be done. Always, it's never going to be perfect. And you can only do what you can do. You could go out and try to buy a herd of whatever and self-start, but you're going to run into a point where you're like, okay, I can't do any more. You're going to run yourself into the ground, and then you're either going to have to give up, or you're going to have to hire help, or you're going to have to do something. And I've seen a few of my friends run into this kind of thing, and I've seen other homesteaders who have tried to do more than they can handle. And my water is full, so I'm going to shut that off. But you just remember that you can only do what you can do. You're only human. We can't do more than that, and just accept that. Again, a little preachy, and I apologize, but it is what it is. We are what we are. And yeah, just hopefully that those first three kind of drive home that point, that we can only do what we can do, and we can either accept that, or we can extend ourselves to the point that we can't keep doing it and ending up in a bad spot, whether that's financially or emotionally or physically. Try not to do that. I don't like to tell people what to do, but try not to do that. All right, so see, more helpers. I've always got helpers around, which is awesome.
The helpers have
Say hi.
arrived.
So last two were a little bit preachy, and I apologize. I try not to get very preachy on this, but as they all laugh at me, what I wanted to, the number 4 on my list is going to be about number 4 on this is I'm trying to so number 4 on my list is things are always going to go wrong. You want proof of that? Go back and look at any of the videos in the past. I guarantee they're all about it. Even my kids made up a song. They might even be able to sing it on the spot.
Come and watch us make mistakes. Slap some people in the face for making dumb mistakes.
Yeah, that song.
That was the theme song that they wanted me to put on our videos. So yeah, there's always things going to go wrong, and don't let that discourage you. Really, animals are going to get loose. Your electric fence is going to go down. You're going to find holes in your fence. Your animals are going to get stuck. Animals are going to die. Your crop is going to die. Things aren't going to turn out the way you want it to. The wind's going to come through and blow your greenhouse over. Think of it, and it's going to cause a problem. If you set up something new, it's going to happen. Something's going to go wrong with it. It's just the reality of the way that this is set up. But don't get discouraged. There are people out there that can help you. They can help you make things better, and you can learn from those mistakes. Making mistakes is not bad. It's just, it is what it is.
It's not fun.
And accept those as life lessons and move on. So yeah, so number 4 is things are going to go wrong. Just accept it and just keep going forward and don't get discouraged. Pigs are being chatty this afternoon. Don't touch that line. I just turned it back on. So item number 5 on the list. See me better? So item number 5 on the list is a lifestyle. Homesteading is not a race. It's not I don't know what else to say. It's a lifestyle. It's got to be something that you want to do. If this isn't what you want to do, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not for you. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, and I'm not going to lie about that. And it's hard sometimes, but it is a lifestyle, and you've got to want to do it. I mean, that's really all there is to it. I mean, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. And there's no, maybe you started it a few years ago when things started going crazy, and you're like, wow, this is a lot of work. And there's no shame in saying, okay, that's not what I want. There's no shame in that. Learning from others and learning something completely new and trying to spend your life doing that, if it's not what you want to do, just like any other job, any other lifestyle, anything you choose to do with your life, if it's not what you want to do and you spend your life doing that, it seems a real shame. So yeah, it's a lifestyle, and I just found a short over here that I need to fix, but it's a lifestyle and you need to want to do it. So anyway, so those are my five lessons of homesteading, and they're not really lessons of homesteading really as much as lessons of life, I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna call them my 5 lessons of homesteading, and let you make a decision. You got other lessons or other thoughts that you want to add to it, please leave me a comment. Or if you think I'm completely off my rocker, leave me a comment about that too. And that's okay. I'm doing my best here, and hopefully you're enjoying it a little bit. And we're doing our best here to do something for our family. So hopefully that's what you're doing, and hopefully you're enjoying it. And so we'll see you next time.